Hey everybody, so at the end of the summer I start to plan some of the big books that I'm going to read during the fall. I don't know about you, but I just find the fall the perfect time to dive into a big chunky book. So today I'm here to recommend a few big chunky books for your fall TBR. So let's get started. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you all doing today? As always, I hope you're happy, I hope you're healthy, I hope you're safe, and of course I hope you're reading an amazing book or two or three or four. I have to say I am. I just finished a book and I absolutely loved it. Cannot wait to tell you all about it. And it has been just a very nice reading year for me. But let's say today I'm here to share some chunky books with you. You know, I just feel like the fall when the weather starts to cool and you can sort of sit outside in a blanket or a sweater and just dive into a big chunky historical fiction or family saga or something like, or big old fantasy narrative. It's the time to do it. So today I think I have six chunky books to recommend for your TBR. So get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, however you keep track of that TBR. If you are so able, please order these books from your local independent bookstore or have your library get you a copy as soon as possible. So we are going to start with the one that I already finished, and that is The Sun in the Void by Gabriela Romero LaCruz. This is out from Orbit. This is for my fantasy readers out there. This is about 511 pages, so it's not that chunky. I will say, as always, I read and listened to the audiobook of this at the same time. The audiobook is fantastic. How do I describe this book? So this is a political, magical tale of intrigue. We have two main characters, okay? We have Reyna. Reyna is from a species that sort of has like these cat-like attributes that has always been enslaved in this country in which this book takes place, but has recently been freed. Now, but there's a lot of animosity towards her race. I think I can never say it. You know what? I'm not going to try to say it because I will butcher it. But the person who does the audiobook says it's fantastically. Now, Reyna's father and mother have passed away, and she has received a missive from a grandmother that she knew existed, inviting her to cross the mountains and come see her. She makes that journey, but on the way she gets attacked and she is horribly injured. And her grandmother, who is an amazing user of void magic, is able to save her life. But she becomes reliant not only on her grandmother, but on this certain material that is really only made in this region where she has just arrived. Okay, that's Reyna. The other character is Ava. Ava is she's part Valco, which is sort of like a deer race with big antlers, but she's part Valco, mainly human, living with her human grandmother. Her mother has died. Her father was never sort of in the picture, and there's a reason. And she is sort of always looked down on, but she's found that she has this amazing ability to do some magic, but that's frowned upon now. That's like the devil's or the demon's work in this world. So what happens is a lot happens. I should say that. I'm not going to be able to summarize all of the pieces of this puzzle, but basically we're in a world that has just come under peace after a revolution. All of these factions are sort of together. The Valcos are a disappearing race. Reyna's race is always thought to be sort of subservient, and they do things to themselves to try to hide. And humans are as humans are, usually the villains in this case, rightly so. But what we find out is that the household that Reyna's in, there's a loss. The woman of the house dies, and there's this prophecy about bringing a god back that can give you whatever you want. And that's what the book becomes about. There is intrigue, there's queer love, there is romance, there's darkness, there's adventure, there's fighting. It's so so good. It has sort of this like Latin folklore feel to it in a lot of ways. There's a lot of Spanish in the book, and it just seamlessly is like this whole world has sort of this really realistic feel to it. I don't know how to explain it. All I can tell you is that Gabriela Romero LaCruz, I think this is her debut novel, is a fantasy talent to watch out for. There is a sequel coming. I cannot wait. The ending is fantastic. I was a little teary-eyed, but I loved it. I loved Reina. I loved Ava. I loved their strength. So that's The Sun and the Void by Gabriela Romero LaCruz, out from Orbit. Okay, so that's 511. That's not too big, right? That's not undoable. Let's see what the next book is. 400. This one's even a little shorter than that, like mid 400s. And this is a book that is the third book in a very, very famous series. But this is Richard Russo's Somebody's Fool. I have read both Nobody's Fool and Everybody's Fool, which are the first two books in this series. If you have not read those, I highly recommend them. That is the only Richard Russo that I've read. I know that he won the Pulitzer for Empire Falls. I still have not read that, but I feel like the Fool series has always really spoken to me, everyone that I've read. So this one happens about 10 years after the last book. The main character of the first two books was Sully. He has passed, and this book sort of passes on to his son as the main character. The town where both of those books came in and where the son lives is going, this huge change is occurring. It's sort of being incorporated into the big city next door. So it's becoming from this like tiny town, unincorporated tiny town, to part of a big city. So lots of things are changing. Pete, I think is his name, right? Peter. He is the son of Sully from the first two books. He's still trying to find his way in this tiny town. You learn in the second book why he's there. I don't want to spoil it, but he's had some turmoil in his personal life. He and his son are there, and he's still struggling even to develop his relationship with his son. And then there's a bunch of other characters. This is a town story. Like, this is the story of the people in a town. What winds up happening is a body is found, I think, in a hotel, and like the new police chief and the retired police chief have to sort of come together and figure out what is going on. But it's really about sort of the incorporation of this town and all its people into a bigger city-state to lose their identity, and if that will wind up happening. As Peter, who is sort of taking over for his father, becomes his own independent person. Richard Russo has a very dense style of writing. He is so descriptive. You will have no trouble sort of seeing everything about this town, from he talks about how the trash is picked up, and you just are there. Like, it's so real, the way he describes it. Yeah, I've started this one, actually. I'm not very far, to be honest with you, but it is one that I was really excited about. So I want to say thank you for Knopf for sending me this beautiful finished autographed copy. This is Richard Russo's Somebody's Fool, out now. If you haven't read Nobody's Fool and Everybody's Fool, highly recommend, and then you can continue on in the series. The next book that I'm going to talk about was just longlisted for the National Book Award. It is by Irish author Paul Murray, who wrote Skippy Dies. I don't know if you read that a couple of years ago now. Loved that book. So this is called The Bee Sting. So this is out in the US by FSG, and it just came out the middle of August. This is the story of the Barnes family. The father, I believe, owns a car business. It's having a lot of trouble. And even though it's having trouble, he is like sort of fascinated with building this apocalypse-proof bunker in his backyard. The wife is selling her jewelry on eBay and trying to sort of dodge the attention of a local cattle farmer. And the daughter, who has been very successful, has sort of changed tacks and is binge drinking her way through her final year of school. What the book focuses on is, where do things start to go wrong? How far back in the past do you have to look to find the instance where things started to move in the direction to get you where you are today? Does that make sense? And what it says on the back here, I'm not going to read them all. It says, If you wanted to change the story, how far back would you have to go? To the day Dickie, the husband, hired a handsome drifter to help him out in the garage, to the car crash 1 year before Cass was born, to the infamous bee sting that ruined Emilda's, the wife's, wedding, all the way back to Dickie at 10, standing in the summer garden with his father, learning how to be a real man. So I just love this idea. I think Paul Murray has a sense of humor, like, very unique to himself. Skippy Dies is definitely worth reading. It is also a chunky book. But I'm really excited about this one. That's The Bee Sting by Paul Murray, out from FSG in the US. And again, long-listed for the Booker Prize. I think it had 4. Did it have 4 Irish authors long-listed this year? I think so. The next book is historical fiction, super historical fiction, taking place in 7th century Britain, and that is Menwood by Nicola Griffith. This is the sequel, but I think it stands alone, to the novel Hild, H-I-L-D, by Nicola, that was out a few years ago. This one is a chunkster, though. This one is, because the font in this is microscopic, and it is 700 pages, 701 pages long. But this is queer British 7th century historical fiction as its finest. Hild is the main character in this book as well. She is 18 in this book, and she is sort of like the right hand to the king in a lot of ways. She has the ability to sort of see things before they happen. She's a seer, she's a warrior, and she is at the beck and call of the king. And he often puts her in very terrible situations, but she represents herself well. She has some relationships, which if you haven't read Hild, I want you to dive into. This book doesn't come out until October 3rd, so you have plenty of time to get this one. This is out from MCD, but if you like well-researched, detailed, fantastically vivid historical fiction all about the world that this person lives in and how that person just sort of is so fleshed out, I highly recommend Hild and picking up Menwood by Nicola Griffith, out on October 3rd from MCD. Okay, two more. Do you all remember The Nix? It was by Nathan Hill, and it was out a few years ago, and it was everywhere. Well, he has a new book out called Wellness. This is out and it's on sale in September. This comes out from Knopf. This is one of those ones that every time I see it on my shelf, I'm like, why aren't I not reading it right now? This arc came to me rather beat up, to be honest with you. The back cover is falling out, but it's about 600 pages. Yeah, see, it came a little bit torn and stuff, but that happens sometimes. This is the story of a couple who falls in love at first sight. It's Jack and Elizabeth. It's the story about falling in love at first sight, about two dreamers discovering their own half, two orphans finding a home, two people who understood each other easily and immediately. But stories only have power insofar as they are believed. I am obsessed with that idea. I do not want to know more about this book because I think that is enough to entice me. Nathan Hill has me at his blurb. So that's Wellness. This is on sale in September from Knopf. You can get your hands on it. And yeah, I need to go back. I have The Nix on my shelf. I read about half of it. You know how you read half a book, you're really loving it, and then things go away? That was me with The Nix. I need to get back to it. Last but not least is a book that actually just came out, but again, it's for you fantasy readers out there, making sure that I keep you all my different readers entertained. And that is Cassiel's Servant by Jacqueline Carey. This is out from Tor, and again, it just came out in August. Now, if you haven't read Cassiel's Dart, which is and I think there are 3 of them in a row in that series. Sorry, my brain doesn't always work when it comes to series. This is the flip side of that story. So those 3 books, also chunksters, also worth reading, also worth picking up. But this one tells the story of those from the other side. And what it says is, this is from the point of view of Jocelyn. Let me just start that again. Cassiel's Servant is a retelling of the cult favorite, Cassiel's Dart, from the point of view of Jocelyn, Casseline's warrior priest and protector of Fedra no Delanis. He's sworn to celibacy and the blade as surely as she's pledged to pleasure, because remember, Cassiel was a courtesan who uncovers this plot that's going on in the kingdom. He is, but the gods they serve have bound them together. When both are betrayed, they must rely on each other to survive. From his earliest training to captivity among their emeries, his journey with Phaedra to avert the conquest of Terra D'Angelo shatters body and mind, and brings him an impossible love that he will do anything to keep, even if it means breaking all vows and losing his soul. So that is Cassiel's Servant by Jacqueline Carey. I saw that she is doing some book tour stuff, so if you get to see her, she didn't come out my way, but I would think that would be fantastic. She is sort of like one of those, she's one of those authors that fantasy people really read and really, really love. You know, there's authors in all sort of those genres and stuff where you like, they're the author's favorite authors. There you go. That's Jacqueline Carey. So again, this just came out in August. You can get your hands on it as we speak, and all of her books, really. So I'm going to try to hold these up because this is a big stack of big books and hope that I don't drop them on myself. Okay, let's try this up. So there you go. That is 6 very chunky books to get you through the fall. As always, if you are a return subscriber, I could not do this without you. Thank you so very, very much. If you are new to my channel, I encourage you to click subscribe and come along for the ride. As always, I encourage you to read globally, shop locally, and until next time, I wish you happy reading. Bye, everyone.